Admiral James Walker stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital command station, his weathered hands clenched into fists behind his back. Through the reinforced glass, he watched as hundreds of alien ships took position around Earth, their sleek hulls gleaming under the distant sunlight. Each ship represented a different member race of the Galactic Council, and together they formed an impenetrable barrier around humanity's homeworld. "Sir, they're broadcasting the Council's vote," announced Lieutenant Bell, her voice tight with tension. The main screen flickered to life, showing the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. Dozens of alien representatives sat in tiered rows, their features ranging from merely human to utterly bizarre. At the center stood Council Speaker Marcus, his tall, gray-skinned figure commanding attention. "The vote is concluded," Marcus announced, his multiple eyes blinking in sequence. "With an overwhelming majority, the Council has determined that humanity poses an unacceptable risk to galactic peace. Their warlike nature and unstable tendencies require immediate containment." Walker's jaw tightened. He had spent years as Earth's military liaison to the Council, trying to build trust and cooperation. Now, he watched those efforts crumble to dust. "The quarantine barrier will be activated immediately," Marcus continued. "All human ships are ordered to return to Earth's atmosphere. Any vessel attempting to breach the barrier will be destroyed. This is not a negotiation." Around Earth, the alien ships began powering up their systems. Streams of energy flowed between them, forming a shimmering web that enclosed the planet. The barrier's ethereal glow might have been beautiful under different circumstances. "Get me the President," Walker ordered, turning away from the window. "Sir, all off-world communications are being jammed," Bell reported, her fingers flying over the control panel. "We're cut off from our colonies. Mars, Europa, Titan. We can't reach any of them." The reality of their situation hit hard. Earth's colonies held the majority of their resources, food production, and industrial capacity. Without them, the planet would struggle to support its population. In the following hours, chaos erupted. The global markets crashed as trade routes were severed. Riots broke out in major cities as people panicked about food shortages. The military mobilized to maintain order, but everyone knew their supplies were limited. Walker spent the night in emergency meetings with Earth's leadership. As dawn broke over the Atlantic, he found himself in the President's underground bunker with a select group of military and civilian leaders. "This was planned," General Roberts stated, spreading out intelligence reports. "Our agents intercepted communications between certain council members. They've been plotting this for months. The resource-rich colonies," Dr. Thompson added, her face grim. "That's what they wanted all along. With Earth contained, they can simply move in and take them." The President looked older than his years as he studied the reports. "We're not dealing with a peacekeeping action. This is theft on a planetary scale. And they think we'll just accept it," Walker said, his voice cold. "They expect us to sit here, trapped behind their barrier, while they steal everything we built." "What can we do?" someone asked. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. That barrier is impenetrable." Walker stood, drawing everyone's attention. "Nothing is impenetrable. They think they know humanity, our strengths, our weaknesses, our capabilities. But they've made a crucial mistake." "What's that?" the President asked. "They think they've seen everything we can do. They believe that by studying our military, they understand what we're capable of." A grim smile crossed Walker's face. "They don't realize that humans are most dangerous when we're backed into a corner." The room fell silent as his words sank in. Finally, the President nodded. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "We give them what they expect. On the surface, we play the part of the defeated civilization. We protest through official channels, beg for mercy, act exactly as they think we will." Walker's eyes gleamed with determination. "But underneath we prepare, we innovate, we find ways to fight that they can't imagine." "A resistance," General Roberts said, nodding slowly. "Not just a resistance," Walker corrected. A revolution. They think they've caged the wolf, but they've just taught it how to hunt smarter. As the others began discussing logistics, Walker returned to the window. Somewhere up there, behind that shimmering barrier, the council racers were congratulating themselves on containing the human threat. They had no idea that their actions had just lit a fuse, one that would eventually blow their precious council apart. The quarantine of Earth had begun, and with it, the clock started ticking toward humanity's revenge. 5 years passed since the quarantine began. From the outside, Earth appeared broken and defeated. The once bustling orbital stations sat quiet, their lights dimmed. Regular council patrols swept past the barrier, their sensors detecting nothing but a struggling civilization trying to survive. They couldn't have been more wrong. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Walker strode through a massive underground facility. The air hummed with energy from hundreds of quantum processors. Scientists and engineers worked at various stations, their faces lit by holographic displays showing complex calculations. Status report, Walker commanded as he entered the central chamber. Dr. Emily Ross looked up from her work, her eyes bright despite the dark circles beneath them. The quantum tunneling tests exceeded our expectations, Admiral. We've achieved a 94% success rate in bypassing their barrier's energy signature. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The council races believed their technology was unbeatable. They never considered that humans would find a completely different approach to the problem. "Show me," he said. Dr. Ross led him to a sealed chamber where a small drone hovered. With a few commands, she activated the new quantum drive. The drone shimmered and seemed to fade slightly, like an image going out of focus. "The Council's barriers work by manipulating standard spacetime," she explained. "But our quantum system operates on a different principle entirely. Instead of trying to break through their barrier, we simply step sideways around it. And their sensors, completely blind to it. We've tested it against every type of Council detection technology we've been able to replicate. As far as they're concerned, anything using our quantum drive might as well be invisible." In another part of the facility, Captain Thomas Reed was running combat simulations with the new technology. Holographic displays showed Earth ships employing the quantum drives in various battle scenarios. "The key is timing," Reed explained to a group of pilots. "When we emerge from quantum state, we'll have exactly 3.2 seconds before their sensors can lock onto us. That's our window to strike." One of the pilots raised her hand. "What about their shields? The Council ships still have superior defensive technology." Reed grinned. "That's the beauty of it. Dr. Ross's team discovered that the quantum transition creates a unique energy signature. When our weapons are modified to match that signature, they pass right through Council shields as if they weren't even there." Throughout the facility, similar scenes played out. Engineers fine-tuned the new quantum drives. Weapons specialists calibrated their systems to work with the revolutionary technology. Intelligence officers compiled detailed maps of Council space, marking critical targets. In his private office, Walker reviewed the latest reports from their hidden network of allies. Several smaller Council races, tired of being bullied by the larger powers, had secretly reached out to Earth. They provided crucial intelligence about Council movements and technology, never realizing just how far Earth's own technological development had progressed. "The Council grows more complacent each year," reported Agent Miller through a secure quantum channel. "They think the occasional riots and protests mean we're focusing all our energy on basic survival. Their patrols are becoming routine, predictable." Walker nodded. "And the banking system? Still centralized through their main hub in the Centauri sector. One strike there would cascade through their entire economy." Miller paused. "They never bothered to build redundancies. Why would they? No one has ever breached their security." The Admiral logged off and walked to a viewing window overlooking the main hangar. Below, rows of ships sat ready, their hulls incorporating the new quantum technology. They were smaller than Council warships, but far more advanced than anything humanity had built before the quarantine. 5 years of isolation had forced humanity to innovate in ways they never would have otherwise. The Council thought they were containing a threat. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous, a humanity that had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Walker pressed a button on his comm unit. All section heads, report to the command center. Operation Ghost begins in 48 hours. As alerts sounded throughout the facility, Walker allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. The Council thought they had caged humanity. They were about to learn that they had merely helped forge humanity into a weapon. The time for hiding was over. Soon, the galaxy would remember why humans were the most adaptable, most innovative, and most dangerous species they had ever encountered. Earth's revenge was about to begin. Operation Ghost began at exactly 300 Earth Standard Time. Across the underground facility, pilots rushed to their ships as warning klaxons sounded. The massive underground hangar doors slid open, revealing the night sky above. Admiral Walker stood in the command center, watching as hundreds of dots on the tactical display represented Earth's ships powering up their quantum drives. Each vessel had trained for this moment for years. There would be no second chances. All ships report ready, Lieutenant Bell announced. Quantum drives functioning at optimal levels. Walker took a deep breath. Begin Operation Ghost. May God have mercy on their souls, because we won't. The ships rose silently into the night sky. As they approached the barrier, their quantum drives activated. One by one, they seemed to fade from view, passing through the Council's supposedly impenetrable barrier as if it weren't there. In high orbit around one of the Council's busiest trading hubs, a patrol ship made its routine sweep. The alien crew was relaxed, their sensors showing nothing unusual. Suddenly, their ship rocked with a massive explosion. Before they could even sound an alarm, 3 Earth vessels materialized from nowhere, their weapons already firing. Similar scenes played out simultaneously across Council space. Earth ships appeared at every major trading post, military installation, and economic center. The Council's vaunted defense systems proved useless against weapons they couldn't detect until it was too late. In the Centauri sector, Admiral Walker personally led the strike on the Council's central banking hub. His flagship, the Retribution, emerged from quantum state directly above the massive space station that controlled the flow of wealth throughout Council space. "They're scrambling their defense fleet," reported Captain Reed from his position leading the support wing. "But they're confused. Their sensors can't get a solid lock on us." Walker nodded grimly. "Execute Phase 2. Target their communication arrays first. I want them blind and deaf." Earth ships swarmed around the banking station like angry wasps. Their quantum-enhanced weapons sliced through the station's shields, destroying communication arrays, defense turrets, and power nodes with surgical precision. Inside the station, panic spread as systems failed one after another. Council officials rushed to emergency shuttles, only to find their escape routes blocked by Earth fighters that seemed to appear and disappear at will. "Sir," Bell's voice came through the comm. "Council emergency broadcasts are going out across all frequencies. They're begging for help." "Just like Earth did 5 years ago," Walker replied coldly. "Send the message." On every surviving screen across Council space, Admiral Walker's face appeared. His expression was stern, his voice unwavering. "Attention, Galactic Council. For 5 years, you have held Earth hostage, thinking you had contained us. You were wrong. Even now, your economic systems are collapsing. Your trading networks are in chaos. Your military lies in ruins. This is the price of your treachery." Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Earth ships had appeared simultaneously at over 300 locations. The Council's carefully structured economy was collapsing as trade routes were severed and banking systems failed. Centuries of financial control were crumbling in a matter of hours. "The humans are supposed to be trapped," screamed one Council member as their emergency session devolved into chaos. "How is this possible?" In the Centauri sector, Walker watched as the massive banking station went dark, its power finally failing. Decades of corrupt financial records, secret accounts, and illegal transactions were being broadcast across public channels. The Council's dirty secrets were being laid bare for all to see. "Sir," Reed reported, "Council military vessels are approaching from multiple vectors. But they're disorganized. Many are refusing to respond to Council orders." Walker smiled grimly. "Let them come. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was never our ships or our technology. It was their own arrogance in thinking they could cage us." As the first wave of Council ships appeared, Walker gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. "Show them no mercy. The way they showed Earth none." The battle was just beginning, but the message was clear. Humanity was no longer trapped behind the Council's barrier. They were free, they were angry, and they were coming for revenge. The galaxy would never be the same. The Council's emergency chamber was in chaos. Delegates from 100 worlds shouted and argued as more reports of devastation poured in. The grand marble walls that had once reflected their power now echoed with their fear. Council Speaker Marcus fought to maintain order. "We must unite against this human aggression," he shouted above the noise. "Our combined fleets can still contain them." A small blue-skinned delegate stood up. "Unite? Like you united everyone against Earth. We've all seen the leaked files, Marcus. You and the other major powers planned this from the start." The files in question were everywhere now. Earth's attack on the banking hub had exposed years of secret dealings. Private messages, hidden accounts, and classified orders proved that Marcus and the larger Council races had orchestrated Earth's quarantine to steal their colonies. In orbit above the Council homeworld, Admiral Walker watched the session through hacked security feeds. Lieutenant Bell stood at his side, monitoring communications across Council space. "Sir, 3 more member races have publicly withdrawn from the Council," she reported. "The Trading Guild of Star System 47 is demanding immediate negotiations with Earth." Walker nodded. This was all part of the plan. Earth's strike hadn't just been about revenge. It was about showing the smaller Council races who their real enemies were. "Send them our terms," he ordered. "Any race that stands with Earth will have our protection. Any that stand with the Council will share their fate." On countless worlds, the pattern repeated. Smaller races, long bullied by the Council's major powers, saw their chance for freedom. Earth's display of power had shattered the illusion of Council superiority. In a private meeting chamber, representatives from 20 smaller races gathered secretly. Their worlds had suffered under Council rule for generations. Now they saw a chance for change. "The humans didn't just beat the Council's technology," said one delegate. "They proved it was never about keeping peace. It was about control." Another delegate, his scales shimmering with anger, spoke up. "My people lost 3 colony worlds to Council redistribution last year, just like Earth's colonies. We all know the pattern." "Earth offers us a choice," said a third. "We can stay with the Council and sync with them, or we can help build something new." Back in the main chamber, Marcus was losing control. Half the delegates had already walked out. Others were openly calling for his arrest. "You don't understand," he shouted desperately. "Everything I did was for the greater good. Humans were too dangerous to be allowed free rein in the galaxy." "No, Marcus," came Walker's voice as his image appeared on the main screen. "We weren't too dangerous. We just wouldn't bow to your corruption. And now everyone knows why." The chamber erupted again. Some delegates fled. Others stood and cheered. A few tried to attack Marcus, only to be held back by security. In the lower levels of the Council building, Earth's intelligence agents worked quietly. They had spent years building a network of allies among the oppressed races. Now those connections were paying off. "Admiral," Agent Miller reported through a secure channel, "our allies in the Council Defense Force are standing down. 3 major fleet groups have refused orders to attack Earth ships." Walker allowed himself a small smile. The Council was doing exactly what he had predicted, tearing itself apart from the inside. "Sir," Bell interrupted. "Emergency transmission from Marcus. He's requesting private negotiations." "Put him through," Walker ordered, his voice cold. "Let's hear what the Great Council speaker has to say now." Marcus's face appeared on the screen, his gray skin pale with fear. "Admiral Walker, please. You've made your point. The Council is willing to lift the quarantine. We can return Earth's colonies. We can." "No, Marcus," Walker cut him off. "We're not negotiating a return to the old system. That council is dead. What we're discussing now are the terms of surrender." As Marcus stammered excuses, Walker looked out at the stars. The council had spent centuries building their power through fear and corruption. Earth had broken that power in less than a day. But the real work was just beginning. Destroying the old order was easy. Building something better in its place, that would be the true test of humanity's wisdom. The galaxy was changing. And this time, humanity would help shape its future. Dr. Emily Ross stood before the gathered representatives of 30 alien races. The conference room, located on a neutral space station, hummed with nervous energy. These were the military leaders and scientists who had once looked down on human technology. Now they watched her with a mixture of fear and awe. "You all thought Earth spent 5 years trapped and helpless," she began, gesturing to the holographic display behind her. "Instead, we spent that time completely rethinking how the universe works." On the display, one of Earth's new quantum ships shimmered into view. Unlike the bulky council vessels with their massive energy shields, Earth's ships were sleek and simple. They didn't need heavy defenses when they could simply step between the moments of space-time. "Your shields work by creating energy barriers," Ross explained. "But we found a better way. We don't try to block attacks. We simply make sure they never reach us at all." To demonstrate, she activated a small device on the table. The coffee cup in front of her seemed to blur, then vanished completely. It reappeared on the other side of the room. The alien scientists burst into excited chatter. One of them, a respected council weapons expert, raised his hand. "But this violates all known laws of physics." Ross smiled. "No, it violates all the laws of physics, you know. Humans had to throw away everything we thought we knew and start fresh. Isolation forced us to think differently." In orbit above the station, Admiral Walker watched the demonstration from his ship. Lieutenant Bell monitored the reactions from the various alien delegations. "Sir, the Council's Chief Science Division is requesting immediate access to our quantum research," she reported. Walker shook his head. "Denied. They lost that privilege when they tried to cage us. Let Dr. Ross show them just enough to understand their situation." Back in the conference room, Ross moved to the main event. A small drone hovered in the center of the room, surrounded by the most powerful energy shields the Council could create. "Your shields are impressive technology," she acknowledged. "They can stop any normal weapon. But quantum-enhanced weapons aren't normal." She pressed a button. The thin beam of light from a small handheld device passed straight through the shields as if they weren't there. The drone split perfectly in half, its pieces clattering to the floor. The room fell silent. "That was 5% power," Ross said quietly. "Our ships carry weapons thousands of times stronger. Your shields might as well be paper." One of the military leaders, his scales pale with shock, stood up. How can we defend against this?" "You can't," Ross replied simply. "That's the point. Earth isn't sharing this technology. We're simply demonstrating why fighting us would be a very poor decision." More demonstrations followed. Earth ships appearing and disappearing at will. Weapons that ignored the strongest defenses. Communication systems that couldn't be intercepted or blocked. In 5 years of isolation, humanity had leaped centuries ahead of their oppressors. Walker received a priority message from Agent Miller. "Council Military Command is in complete disarray. 3 more fleet admirals have resigned after seeing the demonstrations." "Good," Walker replied. "Let them understand the full scope of their mistake." Dr. Ross concluded her presentation with a final demonstration. She activated a large quantum field that encompassed the entire station. For a brief moment, Everyone felt a strange shift, like reality itself had hiccuped. "We just moved this entire station 1 light-year to the left," she announced. "And back. Physics isn't as rigid as you all thought." As the alien representatives filed out, many looking shaken, Ross contacted Walker. "They understand now," she reported. "We're not just equal to them anymore. We're so far ahead, they can't even understand how our technology works." Walker nodded. "Good. Now they know they can't fight us. Next comes the hard part, convincing them to work with us instead." The quantum revolution had changed everything. The council races, who had thought themselves the masters of science and technology, now faced a simple truth. Their greatest mistake hadn't been trying to contain humanity. Their greatest mistake had been forcing humanity to innovate their way to freedom. The balance of power hadn't just shifted, it had been completely rewritten. The Centauri Gateway was the crown jewel of Council space, a massive artificial structure that controlled the main trade routes between the galaxy's major powers. Now it had become the site of the Council's desperate last stand. Admiral Walker watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the remaining Council fleet gathered. Over 300 ships formed a defensive line around the gateway, their weapons charged and shields at maximum power. "They're broadcasting, sir," Lieutenant Bell announced. "Admiral Stone of the Council Defense Force." The alien admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Despite his reptilian features, the fear in his eyes was clear. "This is your final warning, Walker. Withdraw now, or we will be forced to destroy your fleet." Walker smiled slightly. "You still don't understand, do you? You're not giving warnings anymore. You're begging for mercy." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All ships, battle positions. Remember your training. No unnecessary casualties. We're here to end this war, not start a massacre." The Earth fleet materialized from quantum space, their ships appearing in perfect formation. Unlike the bulky Council vessels, the human ships moved with grace and precision, their quantum drives allowing them to shift position instantly. "Enemy fleet is launching fighters," Bell reported. "They're forming attack patterns, standard Council doctrine." Walker nodded. "Predictable as always. Execute pattern Delta. Show them why their doctrine is obsolete." Earth's fighters engaged first, their quantum-enhanced weapons slicing through Council shields like they weren't there. The larger Council ships tried to provide covering fire, but their weapons couldn't track the rapidly shifting human vessels. "Sir," Captain Reed's voice came through the comm. "Council ships are breaking formation. They're trying to retreat through the gateway." "Not this time," Walker commanded. "Activate quantum anchors." The new technology, developed by Dr. Ross's team, created localized fields that prevented quantum movement, including the Council ships' faster-than-light drives. The massive Council vessels found themselves trapped, unable to escape. On the Council flagship, Admiral Stone watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. Ships that had dominated space battles for centuries were being systematically disabled by an enemy they could barely detect. "Our shields are useless," one of his officers shouted. "They're passing right through them." Stone slammed his fist on his command console. "Launch everything. Every fighter, every missile, every..." His ship rocked violently as precise strikes from Earth vessels disabled its main weapons and engines. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as human ships methodically neutralized the Council fleet. "Sir," Bell reported to Walker, 47 Council ships are powering down weapons. They're surrendering." Walker watched as more and more Council ships went dark, their crews choosing surrender over pointless destruction. His plan had worked perfectly. Earth's display of power had been precise enough to prove their superiority, but controlled enough to offer their enemies a way out. Admiral Stone's voice came through again, this time shaking. "How? How did you do this?" "You gave us no choice," Walker replied calmly. "You tried to cage us, so we evolved. You tried to isolate us, so we innovated. You tried to break us, so we became unbreakable." The battle ended not with a dramatic explosion, but with a series of surrenders. Council ships powered down one by one, their crews realizing the futility of resistance against Earth's superior technology. In the end, over 200 Council ships surrendered intact. Less than 10 had been destroyed, and those only after they attempted suicide attacks. The human fleet had suffered 0 casualties. "Send medical teams to the damaged Council ships," Walker ordered, "and get me a channel to Earth. The Council leadership needs to understand that this defeat is absolute." As rescue operations began, Walker stepped to the observation window. The massive Centauri gateway stood silent, its defenses neutralized. The greatest symbol of Council power had fallen in less than an hour. Lieutenant Bell approached with a datapad. "Sir, preliminary reports from across Council space. Their remaining military forces are standing down. The war, it's over." Walker nodded slowly. "No, Lieutenant. The war was over before it began. This was just the Council learning that fact." The stars shined silently as Earth's fleet secured the gateway. Humanity had won not just a battle, but a revolution. The old order was finished. Now came the real challenge: building something better in its place. 1 month after the Battle of Centauri Gateway, representatives from every spacefaring race gathered in the rebuilt Council chamber. The old Council's grand symbols of power had been replaced with simple, elegant designs that represented unity rather than authority. Admiral Walker stood at the center of the chamber, his dress uniform gleaming under the lights. Beside him, Dr. Ross and Ambassador Miller waited as the chamber filled with delegates. The mood was different from the old Council sessions. There was no arrogance, no power plays, just a shared understanding that the galaxy needed to change. The old Council failed. Walker began, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. It failed not because of weak leadership or poor laws, but because it was built on fear and control. "Today, we start something new." Ambassador Miller stepped forward, holding a data crystal. "We present the Terran Accords, not a set of rules to control you, but a framework for cooperation. Every race, no matter how small, will have an equal voice." The crystal was inserted into the central display, projecting the accords for all to see. The first article glowed brightly: "No race shall ever again be quarantined, isolated, or denied the right to advance." Former Council Speaker Marcus, now stripped of his power, but allowed to attend as a witness, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The changes being proposed would have been unthinkable just months ago. Dr. Ross took her turn to speak. "Earth will share some of our technological advances, not the quantum weapons, but medical breakthroughs, agricultural improvements, and clean energy systems. We all advance together, or not at all." The chamber buzzed with excitement. Earth's innovations during their isolation had produced more than just weapons. They had revolutionized dozens of fields, solving problems that had plagued many races for generations. "But there must be accountability," Walker continued. "Those who participated in Earth's illegal quarantine will make reparations, not as punishment, but as restoration. Your wealth helped build this new system. That's your path to redemption." The larger races, who had once dominated the Council, nodded solemnly. Their treasuries would help fund new colonies, rebuild damaged worlds, and establish trade routes that benefited everyone. Lieutenant Bell, now promoted to commander, managed the voting system as each race registered their response to the accords. Green lights flickered across the chamber as approval after approval came in. "Universal acceptance," she announced. "The Terran Accords are now galactic law." Walker allowed himself a small smile. "Then let's begin the real work. The galaxy doesn't need rulers, it needs partners." Earth learned that isolation leads to innovation, but cooperation leads to true progress. The next hours were spent establishing the new systems. Trade routes were redrawn to benefit all worlds equally. Defense fleets were reorganized under joint command. Research facilities were open to scientists from every race. "Sir," Commander Bell said quietly to Walker, "message from Earth. The President sends congratulations and thanks." Walker nodded. Earth's revenge had not been about destruction, it had been about transformation. The corrupt council was gone, replaced by something that could actually serve the galaxy's needs. Dr. Ross approached with a group of alien scientists. The quantum technology research teams are ready to begin their first joint project. Not weapons this time. We're looking at solving faster-than-light travel without the need for gates. The gates were always about control, Ambassador Miller added. True freedom means being able to chart your own path among the stars. As the session ended, Walker stood at the chamber's great window, looking out at the stars. A small delegation approached him, led by a young alien diplomat. "Admiral," the diplomat said, "my people were among those who voted for Earth's quarantine. We were wrong. Thank you for showing us a better way." Walker turned to face them. "The past is done. What matters now is what we build together." The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if they too approved of the changes. Humanity had gone from being caged to becoming the architects of a new galactic order. But this time, the power would be shared, not hoarded. "Commander Bell," Walker called, "send word to the fleet. Operation Ghost is officially complete. The war is over. The rebuilding begins." The galaxy would remember this day not as the end of the Council, but as the beginning of something greater. An age where no race would ever again be caged, where innovation and cooperation would replace fear and control. Earth's revenge had not just changed the galaxy. It had saved it.